I, Rachel, 34 years old, never expected betrayal would come in the form of a casual text message on a Tuesday afternoon. Great news! I'm quitting my job to find myself. Jason's totally supportive. We calculated that $2,000 monthly from you should cover our bills while I explore my purpose. Family helps family, right? My sister Amanda's words glowed on my screen, stunning me with their entitlement. My fingers trembled as I typed my response, not my responsibility. Little did I know this was just the beginning of a war within my own family. Before I dive into this unbelievable story, where are you watching from? Hit that like button and subscribe if you've ever had a family member who expected you to fund their life choices. Trust me, you'll want to see how I finally stood up for myself after years of being taken advantage of. To understand the audacity of Amanda's request, you need to know our history. Unlike my sister, I've been working since I was 16 years old. My first job was at a local grocery store, stocking shelves on weekends and after school. When college came around, my parents made it clear they could only contribute minimally to my education. "We just don't have enough for both of you," they'd say, though somehow they always had enough for Amanda's needs. I pieced together scholarships, student loans, and worked 30 hours a week at a campus coffee shop to make ends meet. My social life suffered, but I graduated with a marketing degree and immediately started climbing the corporate ladder. For years, I lived with roommates in a tiny apartment, took public transportation, and brown-bagged my lunch to save every penny. Only last year, at 33, did I finally pay off my student loans, a moment of freedom I celebrated alone in my apartment with a bottle of champagne I'd been saving for exactly that occasion. My current position as marketing executive at a tech firm didn't happen by accident. I worked 60-hour weeks, took on projects nobody wanted, and consistently delivered results that got me noticed. My financial stability has been hard-earned and recent. The values of self-reliance and responsibility weren't just principles I admired, they were survival mechanisms. Amanda, on the other hand, has lived a completely different life. 3 years younger than me at 31, she's always been my parents' golden child. When she wanted to attend an expensive private college, my parents took out a second mortgage on their house. Her first car was a high school graduation gift, not a used sedan like most teenagers get, but a brand new compact SUV because safety is important for our baby girl. Her pattern of entitlement extends to her work life. In the 8 years since college, she's had 6 different jobs, none lasting longer than 18 months. Each departure followed the same script. The workplace was toxic, her boss didn't appreciate her talents, or the job was stifling her creativity. Each time, she'd quit. Often without another position lined up, and float financially with help from our parents, or, increasingly, from me. I still remember when she quit her marketing coordinator position 3 years ago. I was visiting our parents for Sunday dinner when she proudly announced she'd walked out after her boss disrespected her by asking her to redo a presentation. "But did you talk to HR?" I asked, concerned about her financial stability. "I don't need to justify my worth to anyone," she replied, while our parents nodded approvingly. 2 weeks later, she called me asking for $800 to cover her rent, just until I find something better. That something better turned out to be an administrative assistant role at a local real estate office, a job she constantly complained was beneath her potential, despite having no specialized skills or certifications that would qualify her for more advanced positions. The family dynamic that created this situation has deep roots. Our parents, both teachers with modest incomes, somehow always found extra resources for Amanda while expecting me to make do with less. When I needed braces, I was told to wait until my parents' tax return came in, but when Amanda wanted to attend an expensive summer camp that same year, the money materialized without question. This pattern continued into adulthood. At family gatherings, my parents would gush about Amanda's free spirit and creativity, while my career achievements were acknowledged with brief congratulations before the conversation moved on. I was cast as the responsible one who didn't need attention or support, while Amanda required constant nurturing and assistance. At our last Thanksgiving dinner, Amanda hinted at big life changes coming soon, with a secretive smile, while Jason, her husband of 3 years, nodded enthusiastically beside her. I felt a knot form in my stomach, sensing these changes might somehow involve me, but I pushed the feeling aside. Jason has been a catalyst for Amanda's worst tendencies since they met 4 years ago. A part-time barista with perpetual aspirations to make it big in the music industry, he's perfectly content to live in the house Amanda's parents helped them buy as a wedding gift with a substantial down payment. His contribution to their household seems limited to encouraging Amanda's dissatisfaction with normal work life. Amanda's talent is being wasted answering phones, he told me once at a family barbecue, despite the fact that her job involved little more than that because she'd never invested time in developing professional skills. Over the past year, the requests for small loans from the couple had increased. First, it was $200 for an unexpected car repair. Then $350 for a utility bill they'd forgotten to budget for. Most recently, $1,200 for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Jason to attend a music networking event in Nashville. None of these loans were ever repaid, despite my increasingly direct reminders. Each time I brought up repayment, Amanda would look hurt. "We're family, I thought you were helping us, not keeping score," she'd say, making me feel petty for even mentioning it. Or she'd promise to pay me back as soon as Jason's music career takes off, as though his success was inevitable rather than a long-shot dream he pursued with more enthusiasm than discipline. I later learned that Jason had been systematically reinforcing Amanda's belief that her job was holding her back. "You could be doing so much more," he'd tell her, without specifying what that more might be or how she might prepare herself for it. According to our cousin Morgan, who remained close to Amanda, Jason had been planting the idea that Amanda deserved a sabbatical to find her authentic purpose for at least 6 months before that fateful text message arrived on my phone. When Amanda's text came through, I was in the middle of preparing for an important client presentation. I almost ignored it until my meeting was over, but something about the notification preview, "Great news. I'm quitting my job," made me pause. I opened the full message, and my jaw literally dropped as I read. "Great news. I'm quitting my job to find myself. The corporate grind is killing my spirit, and I need time to explore what really makes me happy." Jason's totally supportive and is cutting back his hours at the coffee shop to join me on this journey of self-discovery. We calculated that $2,000 monthly from you should cover our bills while I explore my purpose. You make good money and don't have a family to support, so this shouldn't be a burden. Family helps family, right? We're thinking 6 to 12 months should be enough time. So excited for this new chapter. Love you. Before I could even process this, a follow-up text from Jason appeared. "Hey Rachel. Just wanted to add that this is what family does for each other. Amanda has supported you emotionally through your career stress, so it's time to return the favor financially. We've already given notice at our jobs. Can't wait to share our journey with you. Peace and gratitude." I stared at my phone in disbelief. The audacity was breathtaking. They had already quit their jobs, assuming I would bankroll their journey of self-discovery without even discussing it with me first. And what emotional support was Jason referring to? Amanda called maybe once a month, usually to complain about her job or ask for money. My first response was measured. "This isn't something I can agree to. We should talk about this in person." Within minutes, my phone rang. Amanda was crying before I even said hello. "I can't believe how selfish you're being," she sobbed. "I've supported you through everything, and the one time I asked for help, you shut me down. Amanda, you're asking me for $24,000 or more without any discussion." "That's not a small favor," I replied, trying to keep my voice calm despite the client notes scattered across my desk and the meeting starting in 20 minutes. "It's just money," she shot back, her tone shifting from hurt to indignant. "You're choosing money over my happiness and mental health. I'm suffering in this job, Rachel. Suffering." I heard rustling, and then Jason's voice came on the line. "Your sister is having a breakdown over this toxic work culture," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Do you really want to be the reason she stays trapped in a system that's crushing her spirit?" I want to support Amanda's happiness, I replied carefully, but I can't financially support two adults who've chosen to quit their jobs without a plan. We have a plan, Jason countered. Amanda needs space to explore her passions. She's thinking about starting a wellness blog or maybe becoming a life coach. These things take time to develop. And what about your music career? I asked pointedly. That's the beauty of this arrangement, he said, without a trace of irony. I'll have more time to network and create while Amanda finds her path. It's win-win. Except for me providing all the money, I noted. The conversation continued in circles, with Amanda returning to the phone in tears, accusing me of never supporting her dreams and being obsessed with corporate materialism. When I asked about their savings or how they planned to cover expenses if my support didn't materialize, Amanda dropped the bomb that they'd already given notice at their jobs, effective at the end of the month, just 2 weeks away. We didn't think you'd say no, she admitted. Mom and Dad always say how well you're doing. After ending the call with a firm but gentle refusal, I managed to compose myself enough to get through my client presentation. But that evening, my phone lit up with a call from my mother. Amanda is absolutely devastated, she began without preamble. She called us sobbing about how you refused to help her during a life crisis. Mom, she's asking me for thousands of dollars so she can quit her job without a plan, I explained. She needs to find herself, Rachel. Not everyone is wired for corporate life like you are, my mother replied. Your father and I would help more, but we're on a fixed income since retirement. So I should fund her lifestyle because I chose to build a career. I asked, incredulous. Family supports family, my father's voice broke in. They were on speakerphone. When your sister needs help, you step up. That's what we raised you to do. And what about personal responsibility? I countered. Isn't that also something you raised us with? Don't be so cold, my mother sighed. You're all alone in that city, focused on nothing but work. Maybe helping your sister would give you some meaning beyond your job. That comment stung more than I wanted to admit. My parents had often hinted that my focus on career advancement was somehow a character flaw rather than a necessity or an achievement to be proud of. According to their worldview, Amanda's dependence on family was healthy and normal, while my independence was portrayed as lonely and sad. The conversation ended with no resolution, but the following morning, a group text arrived from Amanda. I'm giving you 1 week to reconsider your decision. This is about more than money, it's about whether you value family or not. If you can't support us now, when we really need you, I don't see how we can maintain a relationship going forward. Jason added his own separate text an hour later. I think you're just jealous that Amanda has the courage to break free while you're stuck in the rat race. Sad that you value money over your sister's happiness. Over the next few days, the pressure intensified. My aunt called to check in after speaking with my mother. My cousin sent a text asking why I was being difficult. Even my grandmother, who rarely used her smartphone, sent a message saying she was praying for family harmony. It was as if Amanda had mobilized our entire family to pressure me into compliance. Each night, I went to bed with a knot in my stomach, questioning whether I was indeed being selfish. Was $2,000 a month worth damaging my relationship with my sister? Was I really just obsessed with money, as Jason had claimed? By the end of the week, I was mentally and emotionally exhausted. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, contemplating all my options and the potential consequences of each. Something didn't feel right about the entire situation, but the weight of family expectation was crushing. I needed more information before Amanda's 1-week deadline expired. The turning point came when I decided to dig deeper into Amanda and Jason's situation. My first call was to my cousin Morgan, who had always been close to Amanda but had recently seemed more distant from her. I'm not surprised they asked you, Morgan sighed when I explained the situation. Amanda's been talking about quitting her job for months. She told me back in January that she was planning to transition to a more authentic lifestyle this year. January. I repeated. That was 4 months ago. Has she been saving money for this transition? Morgan's uncomfortable pause told me everything I needed to know. Actually, she's been spending more, not less. She bought all new luggage last month, the expensive kind. And they've been going out more, not cutting back. This information prompted me to check something I normally wouldn't have considered: Amanda's social media accounts. While her main Instagram showed the usual family photos and inspirational quotes, a friend request to her Facebook account revealed a recently created Amanda's Journey page that she hadn't shared with family. The page was filled with ambitious plans: a 3-month road trip to America's spiritual centers, a yoga retreat in Bali, plans to manifest abundance through authentic living. One post particularly caught my eye: "So grateful for the family support that will make this journey possible." When the universe wants you to follow your path, it provides the resources through those who love you most. The post was dated February 15th, almost 3 months before she'd sent me the text asking for support. Further investigation led me to her Pinterest boards, which were filled with pins of luxury Airbnbs across the country and exotic international destinations. One board titled Our Freedom Year included pins of beachfront properties in Costa Rica and mountain retreats in Colorado, all with price tags far exceeding the $2,000 monthly stipend she'd requested from me. Even more disturbing was what I learned from Lisa, a former colleague of mine who worked at the same real estate office as Amanda. When I cautiously brought up that my sister was leaving her job, Lisa seemed confused. "She's been telling everyone here that you're bankrolling her year off," Lisa said. "She's been planning this for ages. She even showed us the itinerary you helped her plan." "I never agreed to any of this," I clarified, feeling my chest tighten. "That's weird, because she told everyone at happy hour last week that it was all arranged. She even said you were jealous that she had the courage to escape the 9-to-5. The financial revelations were equally troubling. I sat down one evening and calculated all the loans I'd given Amanda and Jason over the past 2 years. The total came to $15,750, far more than I'd realized. Not a single dollar had ever been repaid. A quick text to my mother yielded the information that my parents had helped with their mortgage several times in the past year when they were between opportunities. When pressed, my mother admitted they'd given Amanda and Jason over $10,000 in the past year alone. My growing suspicion prompted me to ask Morgan about Amanda and Jason's credit situation. Morgan confirmed what I feared: they've maxed out 3 credit cards. Amanda complained to me last month about the interest rates. They've been making minimum payments for years. Despite this financial reality, I discovered through social media that they had financed a new car just 3 months ago, a mid-range SUV that Amanda claimed they needed for the journey ahead. The pieces were coming together. They had been planning this for months, accumulating debt, making major purchases, and assuming I would bail them out. Perhaps the most hurtful discovery came when Morgan reluctantly shared screenshots of a conversation between her and Amanda from 2 months prior. "Amanda, Rachel won't say no. She's always been an easy mark when I turn on the waterworks. Morgan, but $2,000 a month is a lot to ask. Amanda, she makes 6 figures and lives alone in that fancy apartment. She can afford it. Besides, she's always trying to prove she's the responsible sister. This is her chance to actually be useful for once." The screenshots continued, revealing plans to extend their sabbatical well beyond the initially mentioned 6 to 12 months if they were still finding themselves. Jason had apparently told Amanda they could potentially stretch my support for a few years if they were strategic about it. The final revelation came from Amanda's coworker, Tina, who I met by chance at a coffee shop near Amanda's office. When I mentioned that Amanda was leaving her position, Tina looked surprised. "That's not the story I heard," she said cautiously. "Her boss offered her a promotion last month to office manager, but she turned it down. Said it would interfere with her bigger plans." This contradicted Amanda's narrative that her job was soul-crushing and that she was undervalued. She hadn't been pushed out. She'd actively rejected an opportunity for advancement because it didn't fit with her predetermined plan to have me fund her lifestyle. The breaking point came during a seemingly innocent call with Amanda, where she was once again pressuring me about my decision. In the midst of explaining how they would be fiscally responsible with my money, she accidentally mentioned their plan to rent out their house while traveling. "Wait," I interrupted. "You're planning to rent out the house Mom and Dad helped you buy and still have me pay your bills?" Amanda stumbled over her words. Well, we need to cover the mortgage, and the rental income would just help with our travel expenses. So you'd be double dipping, I clarified. Getting rental income and my money. It's not like that, she protested, but then Jason's voice came through in the background. Just tell her the 6 months might turn into a bit longer, he said, apparently unaware I could hear him. Once we get started on this journey, we might need a year or two to really find our path. A year or two? I repeated. Your text said 6 to 12 months. Amanda sighed dramatically. We can't put a timeline on personal growth, Rachel. This journey might take longer than we initially thought. Then came Jason's comment that pushed me over the edge. Your money would finally be used for something meaningful, instead of just sitting in your bank account. As if my hard-earned savings were somehow being wasted by not funding their extended vacation. As if my career and financial goals meant nothing compared to their spiritual journey. I need to go, I said abruptly, ending the call before I said something I might regret. That night, I lay awake again, but this time with clarity rather than confusion. This wasn't about family helping family. This wasn't about emotional support or mental health. This was a calculated plan to take advantage of me, and it had been in the works for months. The betrayal cut deep, but it also steeled my resolve. Not only would I stand firm in my refusal, but I would also address the years of manipulation that had led to this moment. The day after my revelatory phone call with Amanda, I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. I needed space to process what I'd discovered and decide how to respond. My initial reaction was pure anger. I wanted to call Amanda immediately and confront her with everything I'd learned. But I knew that approach would only lead to denial, tears, and ultimately more family pressure on me to capitulate. Instead, I decided to channel my emotions into a methodical response. My first step was scheduling an emergency session with my therapist, Dr. Marshall, whom I'd been seeing monthly to work through childhood issues. What you're describing is a pattern of emotional and financial manipulation, Dr. Marshall noted after I recounted the recent events. The question now is, what boundaries do you need to set to protect yourself? That question became my North Star over the next few days. This wasn't just about saying no to a single outrageous request, it was about addressing a lifetime of imbalance and exploitation. I spent that evening journaling, a practice Dr. Marshall had recommended years ago. Page after page, I documented instances where I'd been expected to sacrifice while Amanda received support. The school trips I'd missed because there wasn't enough money, the same year Amanda got a new computer. The time I'd worked through Christmas Eve to earn bonus pay while Amanda received an expensive watch from our parents because she'd had such a hard year. The pattern was clear and consistent. I was expected to give, sacrifice, and understand, while Amanda was entitled to receive, take, and be accommodated. By midnight, I had reached a moment of clarity. Simply saying no to Amanda's request wasn't enough. The entire family system needed to be confronted with its dysfunctional patterns. If I didn't address this comprehensively now, Amanda would simply find another way to exploit my resources and guilt me in the future. The next day, I consulted with Bridget, my financial advisor, about protecting my assets. While Amanda couldn't access my accounts directly, Bridget suggested documenting all previous loans and creating clear records in case the situation escalated to legal territory. Family financial entanglement can get messy, she warned. Best to have everything in writing going forward. With Bridget's help, I created a comprehensive spreadsheet of every dollar I'd given Amanda and Jason over the years, including dates, stated purposes, and any texts or emails promising repayment. The total was even higher than I'd initially calculated, $17,820 over the past 3 years alone. As I built my documentation, I realized I needed emotional support to withstand the pressure I knew would come. My first call was to my friend Danielle, who had witnessed much of the dynamic with my family over our 15-year friendship. I've been waiting for this day, Danielle said when I explained my decision to confront the situation. They've been taking advantage of you for years. Remember when Amanda called you during your performance review meeting demanding you leave work to pick her up because her car was making a funny noise? I did remember. I'd left an important meeting, rushing across town, only to discover the emergency was a routine maintenance light. Amanda had been annoyed that I seemed stressed about missing my review. My next call was to my Aunt Patricia, my father's sister, who had experienced a similar situation with her own brother years ago. Unlike my parents, Aunt Patricia had always treated me and Amanda equally when we visited, noticing and praising my achievements while holding Amanda accountable for her choices. "Your parents have been enabling Amanda's behavior since she was a toddler," Aunt Patricia confirmed. "They think they're helping her, but they're crippling her ability to function as an independent adult. And they've placed an unfair burden on you in the process." Aunt Patricia agreed to be present at the upcoming family birthday dinner for my father, an event I'd been dreading, but now saw as the perfect opportunity to address the situation with everyone present. I also reconnected with Morgan, who admitted she'd pulled away from Amanda due to similar patterns of manipulation. She expected me to babysit on a moment's notice, then got angry when I asked for the same favor, Morgan explained. It was always a one-way street. With my support network in place, I developed a three-part plan to address the situation. First, I would complete my financial documentation, creating copies for my parents and Amanda. The facts needed to be undeniable. Second, I would prepare for a public but respectful confrontation at my father's birthday dinner, where the entire family would be present. This wasn't about humiliating Amanda, but about bringing the dynamics into the open where they couldn't be denied or minimized. Third, I would establish clear boundaries going forward, including a formal letter declining financial support and outlining conditions for any future relationship with my sister and brother-in-law. Anticipating Amanda's emotional manipulation tactics, I prepared responses to likely scenarios. If Amanda cried and accused me of not caring about her, "I care about you deeply, which is why I can't continue enabling behaviors that ultimately hurt you." If my parents suggested I was being selfish, "I've contributed over $17,000 to Amanda and Jason in the past 3 years. I'm not unwilling to help, I'm unwilling to be taken advantage of." If Jason accused me of being materialistic, working hard and being financially responsible isn't materialism, it's adulthood. If family members suggested I was overreacting, I have documentation of a pattern of behavior that spans years. This isn't about one request, it's about a relationship dynamic that needs to change. I rehearsed these responses with Danielle, who played the roles of Amanda, Jason, and my parents in turn. By the end of our practice session, I felt more confident in my ability to stay calm and clear even under emotional pressure. The final piece of preparation was the hardest, accepting that this confrontation might permanently damage some family relationships. My parents might never fully understand or support my position. Amanda might choose to cut me off rather than accept responsibility for her actions. Extended family might take sides, creating awkward dynamics at future gatherings. "You have to be prepared for the worst-case scenario," Dr. Marshall advised during our follow-up session. Ask yourself, is maintaining these unhealthy relationships worth the cost to your financial security and emotional well-being? After careful consideration, I determined that the potential loss of these relationships, painful as it would be, was an acceptable risk compared to a lifetime of exploitation and resentment. With that difficult decision made, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. For perhaps the first time in my adult life, I was putting my own well-being first without guilt or apology. The night before my father's birthday dinner, I finalized my documentation, printed copies for all involved parties, and wrote a brief but firm letter declining Amanda and Jason's request for support. The letter emphasized that my decision was not about lacking love for my sister, but about establishing healthy boundaries after years of one-sided financial assistance. As I sealed the envelopes containing the documentation, I felt a mix of anxiety and resolution. The confrontation would be difficult, but the alternative, continuing the pattern of exploitation, was unacceptable. I was prepared for whatever came next. My father's birthday dinner was scheduled for 7 p.m. at his favorite steakhouse. I arrived 30 minutes early to compose myself and strategically chose a seat that would allow me to address the entire table. I placed the manila envelopes containing my financial documentation under my chair, not wanting to show my hand until the right moment. Family members arrived gradually, first my parents, then my Aunt Patricia, who gave me an encouraging nod, then various cousins and my grandmother. Amanda and Jason were the last to arrive, walking in 15 minutes late with an air of casual entitlement that I now recognized all too clearly. Amanda avoided making eye contact with me, while Jason offered a smug smile that suggested he thought my week of reflection had brought me around to their position. The first hour of dinner proceeded with the usual family small talk, though I noticed Amanda whispering to my mother several times, with both of them glancing in my direction. As dessert was being served, Amanda clinked her glass to get everyone's attention. My heart rate accelerated. This was happening exactly as I'd anticipated. Since we're all together, Amanda began with a practiced smile. Jason and I wanted to share some exciting news. After much soul-searching, we've decided to leave our jobs to embark on a journey of self-discovery and purpose. We'll be traveling, exploring spiritual practices, and finally pursuing our true callings without the constraints of 9-to-5 jobs. Approving murmurs circulated around the table. My grandmother patted Amanda's hand affectionately. "How wonderful, dear. It's important to follow your heart. We're so proud of you for having the courage to make this change," my mother added, beaming. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Amanda turned to me, her expression a perfect blend of expectation and slight challenge. "And we're so grateful to Rachel for agreeing to support us during this transition period. Her generosity is making this journey possible." All eyes turned to me. This was the pivot point, exactly as I'd prepared for. I took a deep breath and kept my voice calm and measured. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding," I said clearly. "I never agreed to financially support Amanda and Jason's decision to quit their jobs. In fact, I explicitly declined when they asked me for $2,000 monthly with no end date in sight." The table fell silent. Amanda's face flushed red. We discussed this," she stammered. "No, Amanda. You informed me of your expectation via text message." I declined. "You pressured me." I declined again. I reached under my chair and retrieved the envelopes. "I've prepared some information that I think will help clarify the situation for everyone." I distributed the envelopes to my parents, Amanda and Jason, and kept one for reference. These documents show every loan I've provided to Amanda and Jason over the past 3 years, totaling nearly $18,000. None of these loans have been repaid despite multiple promises to do so. My mother looked alarmed. "Rachel, this is hardly the time or place." "I disagree," I interrupted gently but firmly. "This is exactly the right time and place, since Amanda chose to make a public announcement based on a false premise." I continued as family members began examining the documents. The second section shows evidence that Amanda and Jason have been planning this for at least 4 months, including purchasing new luggage, creating social media accounts for their journey, and telling friends that I had already agreed to fund their travels, all before ever approaching me with their request. Amanda's face had gone from red to white. "You've been spying on me?" she hissed. "No, I've been investigating claims that directly impact my financial well-being," I corrected. The third section shows that you rejected a promotion at work, contradicting your claim that you were in a toxic environment. And finally, you'll find documentation of your plan to rent out your house while traveling, generating income while still expecting me to pay your bills. Jason stood up abruptly. "This is ridiculous. You're just jealous that we're brave enough to live authentically while you're stuck in corporate prison." I remained seated and calm. "This isn't about lifestyle choices, Jason. It's about honesty, responsibility, and mutual respect, all of which have been missing from my relationship with you and Amanda." Amanda began crying, right on cue. "I can't believe you're attacking me at Dad's birthday dinner. This is so humiliating." "I'm not attacking you," I replied evenly. "I'm responding to the public announcement you just made claiming I had agreed to fund your lifestyle change, something you knew was untrue." My father looked genuinely confused as he reviewed the documents. "Amanda, is this true? Did you tell people Rachel had agreed to this before you even asked her?" Before Amanda could respond, my mother jumped in. "This is all just a misunderstanding. Let's not ruin your father's birthday with this accounting." "It's not accounting, Mom. It's a pattern of exploitation," I said, my voice finally betraying some emotion. I've been expected to sacrifice and give while Amanda takes and demands more. I'm not willing to participate in that dynamic anymore. Amanda stood up, tears streaming dramatically down her face. I can't believe my own sister would do this to me. You've always been selfish, Rachel, but this is a new low. Let's go, Jason said, putting his arm around Amanda. We don't have to sit here and be attacked. As they stormed out of the restaurant, an uncomfortable silence fell over the table. My Aunt Patricia squeezed my hand under the table in silent support. My father was the first to speak. I had no idea it was this much money, he said quietly, still looking at the spreadsheet. That's just what I've given them, I replied. It doesn't include what you and Mom have contributed. My mother looked torn between following Amanda and staying to manage the situation. You could have handled this privately, she said, but her usual conviction was missing. Like Amanda handled it privately by announcing to the entire family that I had agreed to fund her travels. I asked pointedly. The dinner ended awkwardly, with family members making excuses to leave early. As I expected, the aftermath was immediate and intense. Within an hour of returning home, my phone was flooded with texts from Amanda, ranging from furious accusations to wounded pleas. I can't believe you humiliated me in front of everyone. This is unforgivable. If you had concerns, you should have talked to me privately instead of creating a spectacle. I thought you loved me. How could you do this to your own sister? Please call me. We can work this out. I'm really hurting right now. I didn't respond to any of these messages, following Dr. Marshall's advice to give everyone time to process the information I'd presented. The next morning, I received supportive texts from Aunt Patricia and, surprisingly, from my cousin Thomas, who wrote, "Been watching this dynamic for years. About time someone said something. Stay strong." By contrast, my grandmother called to express her disappointment in my public attack on Amanda, though she admitted she hadn't read the documentation I'd provided. Family matters should remain private, she insisted. The most challenging response came 3 days after the dinner, when my parents showed up unannounced at my apartment on Sunday morning. We need to talk about how to fix this situation, my mother said as they settled uninvited on my living room couch. Amanda is absolutely devastated. There's nothing to fix, I replied. I've made my decision not to fund Amanda and Jason's lifestyle change. That decision is final. But the family is in chaos, my father argued. Your grandmother is upset, Amanda isn't speaking to anyone, and Jason's mother called us to say you've caused Amanda to fall into depression. I took a deep breath. I understand this is uncomfortable, but Amanda and Jason's reaction to being told no is not my responsibility to manage. My mother looked genuinely perplexed. But you've always been the one who steps up, who makes peace. That's your role in the family. That role hasn't served me well, I replied. And it's prevented Amanda from developing the resilience and responsibility she needs as an adult. The conversation continued in circles for nearly 2 hours, with my parents alternating between guilt trips, appeals to family harmony, and occasional moments of genuine reflection on the patterns I'd identified. They left without resolution, my mother tearful and my father quiet and withdrawn. The situation escalated further when I received a call from my office manager the following day. I got a strange call from someone named Jason, she reported. He said there was a family emergency and you needed to be reached immediately. When I offered to transfer him to your extension, he said something about you avoiding his calls and tried to get your cell phone number from me. This violation of my professional boundaries was the final straw. I called my attorney that afternoon and scheduled a consultation to discuss options for addressing Amanda and Jason's increasingly intrusive behavior. The family conflict had moved beyond a private disagreement. It was now threatening my professional reputation and peace of mind. The week following my father's birthday dinner brought an escalation I hadn't fully anticipated. On Tuesday morning, I was in a client meeting when my assistant interrupted with an urgent message. Amanda was in the lobby, crying and causing a scene. I excused myself from the meeting and found Amanda sitting dramatically on a lobby sofa, mascara streaking down her face. Nearby employees were casting uncomfortable glances in her direction. "Amanda, what are you doing here?" I asked quietly, aware of the spectacle she was creating. "You won't answer my calls," she sobbed loudly. You promised to help us, Rachel. You promised, and now we're going to lose everything. I guided her firmly toward the exit. I never promised anything, and this is completely inappropriate. We can talk about this outside. Once outside the building, Amanda's demeanor changed instantly. The tears stopped, and her voice hardened. You're going to regret humiliating me. Everyone thinks you're the perfect daughter, but I'm going to make sure the family knows who you really are. This isn't about the family, I replied, maintaining my composure. This is about you and Jason expecting me to fund your lifestyle while you contribute nothing in return. We're already telling everyone how you abandoned us when we needed mental health support, she shot back. Jason started a fundraiser for our journey to wellness after family betrayal. We've already raised $3,000. Sure enough, when I checked social media that evening, I found a GoFundMe page Jason had created, featuring family photos of Amanda and Mia's children. The description painted a heartbreaking story of Amanda's struggle with workplace anxiety and how her financially successful but emotionally distant sister had promised support before cruelly withdrawing it, leaving them in crisis. The fundraiser requested $25,000 to help Amanda heal from workplace trauma and family abandonment. Several family members had already contributed and shared the page, including my cousin's wife and, most painfully, my mother. The following day brought another boundary violation when Jason called my division director claiming there was a life-threatening emergency involving my sister. My director, concerned, gave me the afternoon off, time I spent documenting these escalating incidents on my attorney's advice. The most distressing development came from my Aunt Patricia, who called to warn me that Amanda had been telling extended family members that I was mentally unstable and having a breakdown due to work stress. According to Amanda, my paranoid behavior at our father's birthday dinner was evidence of my deteriorating mental health. She's trying to discredit you, Aunt Patricia warned. If everyone believes you're unstable, they won't take your evidence seriously. I felt a cold anger I'd never experienced before. This wasn't just about money anymore. Amanda was actively trying to damage my reputation and career. The sister I'd grown up with, despite our differences, was systematically attempting to destroy aspects of my life I'd worked hard to build. Just when the situation seemed at its darkest, an unexpected ally emerged. My father called one evening, asking if we could meet privately for coffee the following morning. Wary but curious, I agreed. When we met at a quiet cafe near my apartment, my father looked older and more tired than I'd ever seen him. I've been doing a lot of thinking, he began hesitantly, and reviewing those documents you provided. I owe you an apology, Rachel. Surprised, I waited for him to continue. Your mother and we've enabled Amanda her entire life. We thought we were helping her, supporting her creative spirit. But looking at the pattern you've documented, he shook his head. We've done her a disservice. And we've been unfair to you in the process. My father revealed that he'd gone through their financial records and been shocked to discover they'd given Amanda and Jason over $45,000 in the past 5 years alone, money they couldn't really afford as they approached retirement. I always thought it was just occasional help, he admitted. But seeing it all added up. He pushed a sheet of paper across the table, his own spreadsheet of financial support to Amanda and Jason. We can't keep doing this. For our sake, but also for Amanda's. She needs to stand on her own feet. For the first time in my adult life, I felt truly seen by my father. It won't be easy to change these patterns, I warned him. Amanda won't accept this shift without a fight. I know, he nodded grimly. But I'm prepared to help establish boundaries. I've already talked to a financial advisor about protecting our retirement funds. And I'm going to talk to your mother about our approach going forward. My father's support was transformative. Having him as an ally not only validated my position, but gave me strength to face what came next, which arrived sooner than expected. 2 days later, I was hosting an important client reception at a local gallery when Amanda appeared at the entrance. Before security could intercept her, she marched directly to where I was speaking with the client CEO and interrupted loudly. I need to talk to my sister right now, she announced. She's abandoned our family in a time of crisis. The room fell silent. The CEO looked uncomfortable and other clients turned to stare. I maintained my professional composure and smiled apologetically to the CEO. Would you excuse me for just a moment? I need to address this personal matter. I guided Amanda firmly toward a private corner of the gallery. You need to leave immediately, I said in a low, controlled voice. Not until you explain why you're destroying our family, she replied, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. We needed you, Rachel. You have all this money and success, and you can't even help your own sister when she's suffering. Security approached, and I nodded to indicate they should stand by. Amanda, you're at my workplace event. If you don't leave voluntarily, security will escort you out. Is that really how you want this to go? Go ahead, she challenged. Prove to everyone what I've been saying, that you care more about your precious career than your own family. I signaled to security, who approached Amanda professionally. Ma'am, we need you to come with us, please. As they escorted her toward the exit, Amanda called out, ask her what kind of person refuses to help her sister's mental health journey. Ask her why she'd rather see her family suffer than share her wealth. After Amanda was removed, I briefly addressed the room. I apologize for the interruption. Unfortunately, sometimes personal boundaries must be maintained even with family. Now, shall we continue our discussion of the new campaign? The CEO looked at me with newfound respect. Handled like a true professional, she commented quietly. Later that evening, I received a text from Amanda threatening consequences for having her forcibly removed from the gallery. This latest escalation, coming after the workplace disruptions and social media campaign, pushed me to take more formal action. The next morning, I met with my attorney, who advised sending a cease and desist letter to Amanda and Jason, documenting the pattern of harassment and workplace disruptions. We also began preparing paperwork for a potential restraining order if the behavior continued. I authorized my attorney to send a formal letter outlining all instances of harassment, the false claims made on the fundraising page, and the workplace disruptions, with a clear statement that any further such actions would result in legal consequences. Additionally, I worked with a financial specialist to create a formal audit of all loans provided to Amanda and Jason, with a demand for repayment or a structured payment plan. While I didn't expect to recover the money, the formal documentation established that these were indeed loans, not gifts, contradicting Amanda's narrative. Finally, I drafted a clear statement for family members clarifying my position, the evidence supporting it, and my request that they not serve as intermediaries in this conflict. I sent this only to family members who had directly contacted me about the situation, making it clear that while I valued our relationship, I would not discuss Amanda's financial demands further. With these protections in place, I awaited Amanda's response to the cease and desist letter, unsure whether it would escalate the conflict further or finally establish the boundaries I needed. The waiting was difficult, but for the first time in this ordeal, I felt I had regained control of the situation. The cease and desist letter had an immediate effect, though not the one I expected. Rather than provoking another round of escalation from Amanda and Jason, it triggered my parents to finally take decisive action. My father called the day after the letter was delivered to inform me that he and my mother had arranged a family meeting at their house that weekend, with Amanda and Jason required to attend. This has gone far enough, my father said firmly. Your mother and I have been talking, and we've decided it's time for everyone to address this situation directly. When I arrived at my parents' home that Saturday, I was surprised to find not only Amanda and Jason, but also Aunt Patricia and my grandmother. Amanda sat stiffly on the couch, eyes red but dry, while Jason slouched beside her with a sullen expression. My mother looked nervous, clasping and unclasping her hands, while my father stood with uncharacteristic authority. We're here to resolve a situation that has gotten completely out of hand, my father began once everyone was seated. Rachel has shown us documentation that paints a concerning picture, and Amanda's recent behavior has crossed several lines. My mother nodded in agreement, a small gesture that nonetheless sent a powerful message that my parents were presenting a united front. With my father's encouragement, I calmly presented the evidence I had compiled, the timeline of Amanda and Jason's planning, the loans never repaid, the fundraiser with false claims, and the workplace disruptions. I spoke factually, without accusation or emotion, letting the evidence speak for itself. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then, to my astonishment, my father spoke up with a firmness I'd rarely heard from him. "Your mother and I have enabled this behavior for too long," he said, looking directly at Amanda. "We thought we were supporting you, but we've actually prevented you from developing independence and responsibility. That ends today." Amanda began to protest, but my father raised his hand. "Let me finish. We've added up what we've given you and Jason over the past 5 years. It's over $45,000, money that should have gone to our retirement. We can't continue this pattern for our sake or for yours." My mother, though visibly uncomfortable, nodded in agreement. "We love you, Amanda. That will never change. But loving you doesn't mean funding a lifestyle you haven't earned." Amanda's face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw tears that didn't seem calculated for effect. "But what are we supposed to do?" she asked, her voice small. "We've already quit our jobs." "You'll need to find new ones," my father replied simply. "And you'll need to live within your means, like everyone else." Jason started to object, but my grandmother, who had been quietly observing, interrupted him. "Young man, I've sat back and watched this situation unfold, and I owe Rachel an apology. I was too quick to judge without knowing the facts." She turned to me with genuine remorse in her eyes. "I'm sorry, dear. You were right to stand your ground." Amanda broke down completely then, not in the theatrical way I'd seen so many times before, but with genuine, body-shaking sobs. "I don't know how things got so out of control," she managed between breaths. "I just thought, everyone always helped me. I didn't think it was wrong to expect it." In that moment, I felt a complex mix of emotions, vindication, certainly, but also a surprising wave of compassion for my sister. She had been shaped by the same family dynamic that had forced me into self-reliance. We had both been damaged by it, just in different ways. "The fundraiser will be taken down immediately," my father said firmly to Jason, who nodded without meeting anyone's eyes. "And you will issue a public apology for the false claims made about Rachel." Jason started to protest, but fell silent when Amanda placed a hand on his arm. "We'll do it," she said quietly. "I'm sorry, Rachel. I really am." The meeting concluded with my parents outlining a new approach to family support. They would help Amanda and Jason with job search resources and resume assistance, but no direct financial support. Any future financial help would be formalized as loans with clear repayment terms. Most importantly, I would not be expected to contribute financially to Amanda's needs, a boundary my parents explicitly endorsed. In the weeks that followed, the transformation in my family dynamic was remarkable. The fundraiser was removed, and Jason posted a brief but clear apology acknowledging that their claims had been emotional and inaccurate. Amanda, after some initial resistance, found a new administrative position at a different real estate office, with slightly higher pay than her previous job. My parents followed through on their commitment to change. When Amanda called asking for help with a car repair the following month, my mother gently redirected her to look into payment plans with the mechanic rather than offering to cover it. It was a small moment, but it represented a significant shift in their approach. My relationship with my parents improved in ways I hadn't anticipated. My father began asking about my career with genuine interest rather than dismissing it as corporate stress. My mother, though she struggled more with the changes, made visible efforts to acknowledge my achievements and respect my boundaries. Perhaps most surprising was the gradual shift in Amanda herself. 3 months after the family meeting, she invited me to lunch, her treat, she emphasized. Over sandwiches at a modest cafe, she spoke with a self-awareness I'd never heard from her before. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she said, stirring her iced tea. "And some therapy too." Dad insisted, and for once, I think he was right. She looked up at me with clear eyes. "I've been entitled my whole life. I never saw it before because everyone always gave me what I wanted. But that's not how the real world works, is it?" "No," I agreed gently. "It's not. I'm never going to be like you, Rachel," she continued. "The corporate climb, the ambition, that's not me. But I do need to stand on my own feet. I'm learning that now." 1 year after the text message that had started it all, the transformation in my family was remarkable. Amanda was still working at the real estate office and had recently been promoted to transaction coordinator, a position she took pride in rather than dismissing as beneath her potential. Jason, after several false starts, had secured a full-time position as an audio technician at a local studio, not his rock star dreams, but a legitimate career in music that paid the bills. My parents had begun working with a financial advisor to rebuild their retirement savings, and my father had developed a new hobby of woodworking that gave him purpose beyond enabling Amanda's latest crisis. My mother still occasionally slipped into old patterns of making excuses for Amanda, but caught herself more often than not. As for my relationship with Amanda, we were taking small, careful steps toward rebuilding trust. The emotional intimacy we'd shared as children was gone, perhaps permanently, but in its place was growing a more mature relationship based on mutual respect rather than exploitation. The most profound change, however, was within myself. I no longer felt guilty for my success or responsible for solving everyone else's problems. I had learned to set boundaries without apology and to recognize manipulation for what it was. The hard-won lessons of this experience had transformed me from the designated family fixer into someone who valued her own well-being alongside others. During our most recent family dinner, as I watched Amanda helping to clear the table without being asked, a small but significant sign of her growing maturity, I reflected on the painful journey that had brought us here. The entitled text message that had started it all had ultimately led to healing and growth none of us could have anticipated. Sometimes true love for family means having the courage to say, "Not my responsibility," when enabling would only cause harm. Sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are the ones most necessary for everyone's well-being. And sometimes, the family dynamics we accept as normal are the very patterns that need to be broken for authentic relationships to flourish. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members who felt entitled to your resources? How did you handle the situation, and what was the outcome? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might be struggling with similar family dynamics. Sometimes knowing you're not alone in these challenges makes all the difference. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing your own well-being.